Welcome back. I'm Tyler, you're watching Scarping Scarves, and welcome to the Lwln Q&A, although it kind of encompasses all series and things that I have managed to get up to. And we are back in our set, which apparently some people think is just a set. It's actually my bedroom. I did not just put a fracking bed in a set. That was not like a design choice. There was a bed in here and I had to work around it because it's my bedroom. Has bed in the name. Only a few people have speculated that it's just a set. It's not. It's my fracking bedroom. I don't know why that bothers me, but it does. Like, why would you think I would just put a bed in a set? Why would I put a bed? That's weird. That's a weird thing to do. I feel like we just covered this.
Not like decorating your room like that. That's not at all weird.
You will speak when spoken to. I think it's beautiful.
It is.
I took great pains, actually, and a lot of people don't know this, I took great pains to decorate this in a way that was feminine, but not childish. Because like I said, this is my bedroom, and I am an adult woman, okay? And adult women have needs. We're not gonna go any further into what those needs are. I'm sure it's pottery and baking. Sure it is. But this could not look like a child's bedroom, okay? It's not allowed. That would be... It makes my skin crawl, just the very thought of it. I can't, okay? I can't. I don't know why we're here. Quarantine has done a number on my
Yeah, about to say, you did this all on your own. I didn't prompt that at all.
What haven't I done to myself at this point? Seriously. But no, this room, like, I really wanted it to be really feminine and elegant and yet not in a childish way. I really wanted to bring out a really princessy, like royal style, but in a way that an adult woman could encompass, if that makes any sense. I wanted it to look like an adult lived here, you know? A very femininely pink inclined adult, but an adult. This is an adult's bedroom, for sure.
More brand dresses back here.
Oh, the fracking, yeah.
The surplus.
The surplus dresses. On my fracking, like, ugly rack. I'm hoping to get, like, a brown rack that matches, like, the browns in the furniture, which I really like. I feel like that gives it a kind of, like, Victorian feel, if that makes any sense. Like, I like the deep, dark woods, like, against, like, the lighter pastels. I feel like the contrast is really pretty, and it gives a kind of, like, an elegance to it that you otherwise wouldn't have if everything in here was like pink and white.
Sorry, that is driving me nuts.
Oh, is it? Oh, did it like pop up?
Yep.
I am wearing a hoop skirt, by the way. I feel like that's one of the questions, but yeah, I don't wear petticoats, I wear hoop skirts because this is Texas and it gets hot as fuck out here, alright? I'm not about to be sweating up in 50 layers of petticoat ruffles. It's a hoop skirt, alright? I like breezes. I wear bloomers, but I like breezes, or I'll die. Anyway, let's get started because people have waited through God knows what I just said to watch this fracking Q&A for reasons I will never understand. Let's just go to that.
Go.
Let's try and salvage this.
Just dive right in.
If you tuned into this Q&A having not known anything about me at all, which I don't know why you would do this to yourself, my name's Tyler, and I am known for Last Week Lolita News on YouTube. And the reason I am doing this Q&A is because as a YouTuber, I'm often invited to conventions, and at those conventions, like anime conventions specifically, they do panels, like the Q&A panel and Roast and Toast with Lovely Lwln. She's another Lolita YouTuber, and she's fracking fantastic. Check her out if you haven't seen her yet. And we will just tour these conventions together, just doing panels and entertaining attendees. And since COVID hit, I haven't been able to do any of that, and I always really enjoyed the Q&A because people would ask you things you wouldn't even imagine, and the conversation would go to really fun places. So I figured, if we can't bring the Q&A out to the States, we can bring the Q&A to you at home. So that's why I'm doing this panel, and apparently that's what you're watching. So let's start with the first question, the Q, and I will give you the A shortly, once my fracking computer decides to work. It is decided right now that it will not show the images because it hates me, and Windows 10 broke my fracking computer. Alright.
Broke more than that. That was a shot at Windows 10, not at you.
Okay. I thought you were coming for me, and I
No.
was ready to get up. My legs are asleep already, but I was gonna wake them up to beat you. Anyway, our first question is from the Stitches. Stitches or the Stitches? I feel like it's the Stitches, like a duchess.
I'm gonna go with your instinct on that one because I can't even see it.
We're going with the Stitches. Like she's a duchess, but with stitches. I presume it has something to do with sewing. And the Stitches says, for the Q&A, what's one print you've always wanted but never been able to find? Like you saw it when you first got into the fashion and it's a dream dress, but you never managed to get your hands on it. Mine is Mary Magdalene JSK, which I've never even seen secondhand. Tons of knockoffs though, and obviously the brand doesn't exist anymore. I have actually heard that Mary Magdalene is back, that they have returned. I haven't put that on Lwln yet, but I'm pretty sure I saw an announcement on their website that they've returned. Like Mary Magdalene she rides again. She's back. She is back, and she has taken over the internet. But to actually answer your question, my brain is so fried. The one print that I've always wanted but never been able to find, it used to be Whimsical Vanilla Chan. But if you watched my I Got My Dream Dress video, I actually did finally find it, and I just finally had to come to terms with the fact that it was just gonna have to be stained, because every last one of those fracking dresses was apparently used as a dish rag in a cellar. So I finally just had to come to terms with the fact that I would have to buy one stained and try and fix it, and I took it to a dry cleaners, and they had it for like a week. A week. And they had stain professionals on that thing. They told me about it, and they still couldn't get it out. So this girl that used to own this dress murdered someone in it, and the blood sank in. But since they couldn't get the stain out and it was on the bow, I essentially just took the bow apart and turned it inside out, because there's a print on the opposite side too. And it may not be the exact same, and I'll show you a picture of what I did, but it is like now my Whimsical Vanilla Chan. So the great holy grail dream dress that I was looking for a decade, I did find. I finally did find. And now, insofar as dream dresses go, like the great white whales, essentially, like I don't really have any more. There's more like dresses that I'm currently obsessed with. So to answer your question in a little side alleyway, the dresses I'm currently obsessed with are Suya Suya Toys by Angelic Pretty. I believe it's also called Peaceful Sleeping Toys. I'm not exactly sure of the exact translation. And what was the other one that I was looking for? It's Suya Suya Toys.
Oh, I know which one it is.
British Bear.
The green British Bear.
British
We've seen like 1,000,001 of every other colorway, of the red and the ivory and the navy, which are all pretty. And then they did one in yellow, which is fucking disgusting. It's I can't imagine, like, not even like a pretty like Easter Sunday yellow or like a gold, like a royal gold or something. It's a fucking like mustard yellow. It's disgusting. I have no idea who did that or why.
You don't even
But
understand.
they should be drawn and quartered.
You don't even understand, and I agree. You don't even understand how vindicating it is to hear someone outside of the fashion talk about how ugly that dress is. Because, like, I'm terribly frightened of the day that I hear some normie look at it and go, oh, it's not that bad. Because I might have to stab them in the eye at that point, and then my life is over, and I'm in prison for the rest of my life. So it's nice to hear you say it's horrible.
It is.
It
The
is.
green one, which is the one you want, is very, very pretty. And it's not that it doesn't exist, but they're asking too much for it. It's overpriced, according to you.
Well, to me, that dress, I don't know. It's been a while. I feel like there was a re-release or two, and it's just, to me, it's not worth 40k yen. And that's not obviously insane, because British Bear doesn't qualify for the 2010 Sweet Obsession Pastel Parade craze. So it's not going for like $1,000 right now. So compared to like Milky Planet, it's perfectly reasonable. And again, British Bear for me, it's a recent obsession. It's a very recent obsession. Like I only recently did it really come onto my radar. I knew it existed, but I wasn't wild about it because it's not pastel blue or pink or yellow or mint or whatever. Only recently have I expanded my horizons just a teeny little bit, and for reasons that are entirely predictable, because I think it looks like a nice Christmas print.
Mm-hmm.
That is the only reason I want it. And that is the only reason I will get it.
If and when you do get it, it'll go right into the Christmas corner with classic fairy tales.
Oh, it's going right into the corner of shame, absolutely, and it will not come out. So yes, the dresses that I'm looking for, which are not like, they're not like dream dresses, they're just dresses that I really want, are Suyu Suyu Toys and British Bear. So I hope that answers your question, and may you find your Mary Magdalene JSK, because I'm pretty sure I know the one you're talking about. It's probably the one that gets knocked off constantly with that like just waist A-line cut, probably. But thank you, the Stitches, for your question, and I'm sorry that we answered it in like a spiral of nonsense. Let's move on to the next question. Next question is from Nikki C, and Nikki C says, Q&A, worst fashion mistakes you made when you first got into Lolita. Thank God there are no pictures of me from when I first got into Lolita, because I lived in the sticks, had no Lolita friends, and no one was about to take pictures of me. Well, not that I knew of. There might be some sneak pictures of me on some Karen's phone out there, but like, no pictures that I consented to. I'm sorry, the door made a noise and it honestly made me paranoid. If I get axe murdered on video, I'm going to be upset. Especially because I won't be alive to monetize it.
Oh no, nothing. Don't worry, you're perfectly safe. Nothing's gonna happen. Oh my God! Ah! Ah! I had to pull the camera up just to show you the look she's giving me right now. I was actually pretty proud of that. I thought that was some good improvisation.
I'm gonna get real improvising in your murder. I'm gonna use a lamp in ways lamps have never been used before, and we will make the news. I forgot what the question was.
The frilly lamp murders, like they.
Anyway, what was the question? Worst fashion mistakes you made when you first got into Lolita? Oh, frack. I'm trying to remember. Okay, when I first got that bodyline JSK, which was my first JSK was a bodyline JSK that probably doesn't even have a name. It's probably like L907 or something like that. There were some like old bodyline JSKs that they just didn't name. They just gave like product codes and stuff like that, and it's not printed. I'll put a picture of it up. I think I wore it with like kitten heels and like a white, like, it was Lolita-ish, but it was just kind of like a white cotton stiff blouse. I can't even remember the exact details because obviously I burned it so no evidence would remain. But yeah, just like kitten heels, no leg wear, like they had little like butterflies on them and stuff. It was not good. It was not good. I was a baby Lolita and I immediately had to put the dress on my body. So that's essentially what happened. So insofar as like fashion mistakes go, honestly, I would count that first cohort up there. But I mean, whose first cohort from like the 2010 era was perfect? We can't all be like you motherfuckers who are coming into the fashion in like 2018 with 15,000 resources at your fingertips. We were stuck with whatever fucking watered down, stained dish rag brand made it into the Western market, and we fought over it like dogs over a piece of meat. You do not know, okay? This is my back in the day, we had to hike uphill both ways in the snow story, but you're gonna sit here and listen to it because you don't know how good you have it. You have a smorgasbord of brand and indie and Taobao pickings to choose from your cushioned thrones, all right? You don't know, all right? We were peasants. We were Lolita peasants picking off the leftovers on the torn battlefield with crows.
Lolita YouTuber yells at cloud. That's what that is.
Honestly, yes. But I'm like, oh, God. It's almost... You have to try.
Tyler, you need to fucking make like a little image of you yelling, like yelling at the cloud.
I like that, just like... Seriously, you have to try to be an Ida these days, okay? You need to put in some effort to be Ida these days because the resources are near unlimited for all types of budgets, all right? There's no excuse to look a mess these days. There was plenty of excuse back in the day, all right? And a lot of us did things that we regret. Forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, insofar as like fashion mistakes though, one thing that I look back on now and I'm just like, why did I wear that? But at the time was perfectly fine with, honestly, the clip-in bangs. And I feel like you
Oh,
can agree on
yeah.
that.
You know, we both liked them at the time. We thought they looked great because they matched your real hair. I'm like, wow, you can't tell at all. And now now that you have real bangs, we watched some of your old videos. Like, oh my god, like what were we thinking?
It looks like someone took a slingshot with those bangs, pulled it back, and just fired them at my head. It looks like they just landed there.
There's one or two videos where the lighting is just right and they look convincing,
Decent. They look
but in
decent.
most videos the lighting isn't perfect and they stand out like a sore thumb.
Really do. It looks like someone played pin the bangs on the reporter. Like, honestly, it looks like a party game, and it drives me nuts to look at it. But I can't delete those videos because they're good videos.
And there's also, I mean, the story you actually cutting your hair again, getting real bangs is kind of a story. Remember? You want to tell that story?
Oh my god, I don't know if I've told this on camera.
You haven't.
Okay, I had a con the next day, and the bangs, for me, even at the time, had gotten to where they were such a different color that even I couldn't put up with it.
Well, remember, because you used to dye your hair.
I used to dye my hair. I did, and I stopped, and my hair slowly faded to my natural color, which is whatever this is.
You used to dye it like a reddish brown that matched those bangs.
And I dyed it pretty consistently, and eventually it faded to my natural color, and the bangs were night and day. It really, like, even for me back then, who wasn't fully online with how weird those bangs looked, like, it was stark, and it was too stark, and I had an event the next day. So, like, it was 2 days from then. So I went and I had my hair dyed the same color I always use, but with a different hairstylist. Because I think my current hairstylist was pregnant at the time. I think she was out for some reason or another. Maybe she was making a baby. Maybe she was delivering the baby unto the world. And that's why she couldn't help me with my fucking hair that day. So I had to
get her priorities straight. You can have a baby anytime.
Right?
You got a con the next day, goddammit.
Fuck the baby. My hair is the wrong color. No, I keep throwing my hair back because I don't want to block this bodice. I'm not trying to be sassy, but I had to dye my hair so that the bangs would look decent to me back then, even though there was nothing that was going to make them look decent. And it came out completely different color, and I had a fracking con the next day. So I went and I cut bangs. It was either mile of forehead and then bow, or cut bangs.
And you didn't tell me you were doing it either.
I
You
totally didn't.
You just.
I didn't tell you shit.
And I don't know why. If I remember, I don't know why you didn't open the door yourself. You knocked on the door, so I opened the door for you, and you looked like a completely different person because I hadn't seen you since that morning. So your hair was not only a different, it was a different, totally different cut and a different color. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, she'd straightened it too, which is impressive. Straightening my hair, holy shit! It used to take me 2 hours back in the day with like a wet to straight to get my hair straight. Like, this is pretty much my natural hair texture, just like tamed with a little bit of mousse. Like, I am a fluffy, poofy creature, and she managed to get that shit straight, and it stayed straight for at least a couple of hours, which was impressive. But yes, she had straightened my hair, colored my hair, and then I went to another stylist to cut the bangs. And now I have real bangs that are on my head and don't come off, ever. Because my old clip-on bangs looked like Pin the Bang on the Reporter. It was a party game. I was a walking party game.
Well, and there was always that speculation among commenters, like, is it real hair? Is she wearing a wig? And
that speculation has continued even after I got real bangs. They're like, no, those are clip-on bangs. Like, they're my hair. They're attached to my head. You can tug them. What about my hair looks like a wig? Have you never seen real human hair?
Apparently they haven't.
Apparently not. It's this fracking fashion. It's because my hair looks like a specific wig called like the Rhapsody wig, and I'm not gonna even say the brand name. Not gonna even say it. I've made videos. Yikes tier. But honestly, it does. It kind of, their wig kind of looks like my hair. But this is just what my hair does. I'm not wearing a wig. And the reason I don't wear a wig, I feel like that's another question that comes up a lot. I'm sorry, Nikki, that we're going so far off of worst fashion mistakes you made, but honestly, it made me think of those clip-ons. The reason I don't wear a wig is because it honestly hurts my head. I have to stuff so much hair in there, and there's so much like pressure It's just uncomfortable. I don't like it. And often, like, on the smaller wigs, they'll leave, like, a ring around your head, which
I
is
remember you used to wear wigs, and you would always have that mark on your head, and
not
you'd always
fun.
talk about how much it hurt afterwards.
It's not fun. And people will just say, well, you just need to wear a wig that's more your size. Well, I'm going to need a wig the size of a space station, apparently. They don't make my head size in wigs. I don't know if my head is particularly big because it hides a lot of secrets or what. But I don't like wigs. Honestly, I think part of it is having to shove this much hair into it.
I think that's it.
I think it makes it like really tight, you know? And it's just, it'd probably be easier if I had a pixie cut. But the day I cut my hair is the day I crawl into a hole and die. We're not playing this game. This is my hair. This is how it's going to be. Deal with it. Let's move on to the next question. Thank you, Nikki. I think my worst fashion mistake was those fracking clip-in bangs. Next. This is from If I Want to Dance. And If I Want to Dance says, Q&A question, you've got whimsical Vanilla Chan now. What, if any, dream dresses still elude you?
Didn't you already answer that same question?
We just answered that same question, but I'll add another dress that I'm looking for, and that's Belle Epic Rose in lavender. I really like that dress, but I haven't seen it listed for less than 40k yen, and it only ever seems to come up on the Japanese secondhand market, like not even in the West. Maybe I just missed it, because stuff on the lace market that's for a good price goes quickly. So I'll add that to Suyu Suyu Toys and British Bear. Belle Epic Rose in lavender I think is really, really pretty, and I do want that dress. And also Rose Museum, I believe, in mint. I think that dress is really pretty. So I don't really have like dream dresses because Whimsical Vanilla Chan was the last holy grail dress. It was like my peak accomplishment in Lolita for me because I looked for it for a literal decade. So yeah, Belle Epic Rose, Rose Museum. I actually really like. Oh, it's like Rose Tea Garden or whatever, but it's Salon de the Rose. There's a lot of rose in my wants. Salon de the Rose in pink. I think that one's really pretty. I saw it recently for a really good price, and I skipped on it because something else came up, and I'll show you guys that in another video because it's a dress that I used to fucking hate, and now I love it. So I'll show you a video of it later. So thank you, If I Want to Dance, for your question. I hope that answers it. Next. This next question is from Anna Mermaid, and Anna Mermaid says, Q&A question, how would you describe yourself outside of your LWLN persona, and how would you like to be perceived by the community? Alright, we're about to get comfortable for this, so point the camera away, Mr. Cameraman. My leg's falling asleep, my foot is asleep, I can't feel my foot, I am dying. Everyone is dying. All is blood and death. My leg hurts. My foot hurts. Oh my god. Don't look at me. Look away. Look away. I love that you're actually looking away. Alright, so this is not going to be kawaii, but we're going to get comfortable for this question because my leg's going to sleep. There we go. I probably look weird, but...
Nope.
How dare you disagree with me? Especially trying to compliment me while doing so.
I know, the nerve.
I know. Why are you breathing?
God.
That's a callback. So, your question, how would you describe yourself outside of your LWLN persona, and how would you like to be perceived by the community, I think is a really interesting question, and apparently so did 89 other people. I told you I would take in the most popular questions into account. I think, it's a complex question. How would you describe yourself outside of your LWLN persona? And honestly, it's a mix. If I'm being honest, there's the LWLN persona and my own personality have become so intertwined over the years because the first episode was 100% persona, the first LWLN. I mean, I was even making up the news. It was for sure things that I felt were funny because it wasn't real news. I was just like making it up in that first episode. But that persona and that drone is obviously not how I talk or act in real life. Like that was the drone, like hyped up to 100. How I would describe myself outside of my LWLN persona, I would say the best way to describe it is probably that the LWLN persona is my personality but dialed up to 10. In some cases dialed up to 12, because I have said some shit over the years. I have said some shit. I have expressed really intense opinions about dresses that I don't actually hold. Like, usually if I'm talking about something like fishnets and talking about how much I hate fishnets, I'm maybe only mildly irked by fishnets, but that's not funny, being mildly irked by something. You need psychotic fucking hatred for it to be funny, in my opinion, to even mention fishnets, unless you're gonna make, like, I don't know, fishing jokes, which I did in Galveston about what Lwln was wearing. I remember that. I asked her if she was gonna go catch her dinner later.
It's pretty good.
I remember that. God,
I bet that got a big laugh in the room, didn't it?
It did. That joke for sure killed. But, God, I miss her. She's great. Sorry, every time I think of her, I just think that I miss her. I miss my friends. But, insofar as the persona goes, like, I think that's the best way to describe it. The only thing that is troublesome and in some way worrisome is that persona and my personality over the years have merged a little bit. There is some intermingling. And I've had to come to terms with the fact that there are parts of me that are quite sadistic. Is probably the best way to put it. I am not getting into heaven when Jeebus returns from the great and holy upper lands. I don't know what your holy book says. Something about angels. Don't they have like 50 eyes or some shit?
You are asking the wrong guy.
You ever read the Bible? I've read the Bible.
I've read parts of it for a class for my history degree like a decade ago.
That
but
was an interesting class.
It was.
It was an interesting class. We'll talk about that on Frog Talk later. Save that for Frog Talk. That's where.
Too bad you don't have any cross dresses. Then it would be relevant.
Fuck cross dresses. I hate it. You know what? No one's even asked that question. I'm going to answer that question right now. Fuck cross dresses specifically. And if anyone's wondering why I have such a bone to pick with crosses, it's because I was raised Christian. And I was raised with a hyper-Christian grandmother. I have two grandmothers. One is amazing. One is batshit crazy. Okay? Some shit went down. We're not going to even go into it, but she was very, very, very religious. We're talking about Jesuses and crucifixes and all sorts of crosses all over the walls. This woman was very churchy, and I grew up in a very Christian area, very religious, and it was not a good time for me, little weirdo me. And I used to be Christian myself. I used to be a very devout Christian, and that shit'll fuck you up. Especially if you're a woman. That shit will fuck you up. And that is my issue with cross dresses. That's why I hate crosses so much. And I really hate when AP plasters them all over bunny and kitten prints and shit. Because Japan just thinks the cross is a cool, edgy thing to put on something. They're not thinking about Jeebus. They think of it kind of like, what's an edgy thing here to put on something? Like that the goth scene uses.
Other than crosses?
Other than crosses.
Shit.
It's essentially an old-fashioned thing for Japan.
Like an anarchy symbol,
Yeah. It's decorative. Like, it's not something they grew up being oppressed by, essentially. Like,
or probably an ankh would be a better.
An ankh, but honestly, like what's the triangle with the circle?
Triangle with a circle.
Is that the anarchy symbol too? Satan, the Satanist thing.
Yeah, pentagram.
Pentagram. It's like pentagrams for goths with the Japanese. Like crosses, like I think aren't Japanese majority Buddhist?
Kind of. The religious demographics of Japan are very, very strange. I think most of them are basically non-religious.
But like Christianity does not reign supreme.
No, not at all. If I can interject one little anecdote, when I was going back to my history degree, one class that I took was I think it was the sociology of religion, and my professor wasn't in my class, but in a class that he did before I was there was a Japanese girl in his class, and she had never, not only was she not Christian, she had never heard of Christianity. She did not know what it was. He had to explain to her. She was living in America.
Wow.
And he had to explain to her what Christianity was.
There's this wacky religion. Like,
the
Father is the Son.
You are gonna lose
Ghost.
so many goddamn subscribers.
Oh, fuck them. They're the majority of this country, they can take a couple of hits. It's not like I'm punching down. How many people in this country are fracking atheist? Cry me a fucking river. All right? Sorry. I mean, I grew up Christian. I grew up hyper-Christian, okay? Hyper-Christian. And it backfired hard when I started to develop into a young woman. That's where Christianity really starts to suck. If you're a straight white male, I'm sure it's fucking great. It's not so great if you're a woman, alright? If things get bad fast, alright? The whole listen to your husband and be submissive shit. Oh, I could go on a whole rant on that, but I won't.
What was the original question?
How would you describe yourself outside of your Lwln persona?
So what I was, can I answer that question?
Yeah, please.
For your viewers,
give some perspective.
You're looking at it. Like, no, I'm only half joking. In like videos like this, and Frock Talk, like those kind of videos where it's not totally scripted. Mm-hmm. This is pretty much the real you. This is what you're like off camera, and so that's now you know. Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, this is roughly what I'm like, which is insufferable. He would know. The second part of the question, though, is also interesting. It says, and how would you like to be perceived by the community? And for me, it's honestly not how I want to be perceived. It's like the best case scenario of my being perceived is probably like a villain who provides catharsis occasionally because someone's got to do it and the heroes of the community are too fucking nice to do anything about it. So that's honestly best case scenario. I don't think I can ask for like how I would like to be perceived because I mean I don't think it's reasonable because the things I say are quite controversial is a nice way to put it. And while I would like to just be seen as a source of catharsis for the community, I also realize that the words coming out of my mouth are essentially tools of murder. So a villain that occasionally provides catharsis for the community is the best I can hope for.
There you go.
I hope that answers your question, Anna Mermaid. I'm sorry we ran into the weeds on that one and attacked an entire religion. Next.
We'll eventually, when you leave this mortal coil, we'll have that put on that'll be the epitaph on your tombstone. A villain that occasionally provided catharsis.
I'm fun at parties. This question is, I believe, from a patron. Have we gone through any patron questions without me noticing? No. Okay, good. This is the first question from a patron, and the birds work for the bourgeoisie says, this might be slightly weird, but ever since you started your Frock Talks, I've wondered, where do you store your petticoats and how? All right, I feel like we touched on this, but I'll go through it again. I actually don't wear petticoats because I live in Texas. I wear hoop skirts, and I will actually show you where I store it because it's super easy. So the birds work for the bourgeoisie asked where I store my fracking petticoats, but since I don't wear petticoats or wear a hoop skirt, I will show you where I store it. Let me move these blouses that I haven't put back yet. I store it on this hat right here, along with all those scarves, which are the namesake for this channel, Scarfing Scarves. I keep all the scarves right here. And I store my hoop skirt, since when you're not wearing it, it folds flat. I store it over this little hat, and the hat is here specifically to keep the hoop skirt from getting like warped, gives it something like round to rest on, and it stores flat against this wall, which is really fracking space saving. So
even I didn't know that. Fucking I learned something.
Yeah, how often do you go behind the store?
I never.
Yeah, never. Also, I got a new blouse. Look at that. I think it's baby. Yeah, it's baby. It's got crosses on it, but I'm gonna pretend it doesn't. It's pretty. It makes me think of Christmas. I think it'll look really nice with classic fairy tales. Cue
some commenter like screaming about how you hate crosses, and you did kind of a rant about Christianity, but you love Christmas, which you do.
Let's continue this conversation in there.
Well, then, the more intellectuals among them will say, hey, fuck you, it was a pagan holiday.
Yeah, it's true. The best parts of Christmas are not the Christian parts. But we were talking about Christmas, though, and it is a funny point, an atheist that's so obsessed with Christmas, and we're actually going to give you guys a tour of our Christmas decor this year.
Oh, I'm excited for that.
Because we have a gimbal, and we'll be able to show you what we do to our house, because I am not kidding when I say it looks like Santa's fucking workshop out there.
So can I interject really quick?
Please.
And you can confirm this. This is something I have wanted to do for years, but it's before the little gimbal, which I'm holding in my hands right now. It was too much of a pain in the ass to do we'd have to set up the tripod and the DSLR and all your soft boxes and move it from one room to the other. And
Focus.
we could have done it, but we never did because it was just too much of a pain in the ass. And so we settled for just having the tiny little like card table tree, the white one with the pink
frame,
ornaments
like,
in frame.
on the
Yeah,
side.
that's about as much you're gonna do.
We're gonna put a tree on the desk again this year. It'll be a little tree. It's gonna be cute. I'll probably get a little tree skirt. It'll be fun.
Yes, expect to see several videos out in our living room with all of our Christmas decor, because that is our mutual thing, is that we're both obsessed with Christmas. And so as crazy as Tyler's fucking closet that you've seen many times is, that's what our living room looks like for Christmas. Like we've spent obscene amounts of money on Christmas decorations over the years. Oh yeah, I want to say it started in like 2013 or 2012, somewhere in that area.
So it's been about 8 years of us just collecting Christmas decor, because this is our mutual obsession.
It has gotten pretty obscene.
And when you say, like, I can already see people saying, like, an atheist obsessed with Christmas, but, like, honestly, there's no Jesus in the Christmas that we like. Christmas is a corporate shill now. It's built on buying and fracking boxing and then ripping apart paper. Like, Jesus is completely separate from Christmas. The kind of Christmas that me and cameraman like is the Santa Christmas. If Jesus so much as toes his little sandal into the room, I'm gonna smack it with some holly or some shit. Like, no. We
actually,
avoid that aisle.
there's some literal truth to this, because I have a couple of beautiful red banners that I absolutely love. They're red and gold. You'll see them when we hang them up again. These beautiful red and gold banners that I hang out next to our dining room windows. And one of them just says Noel. I think the other one says, I don't even remember, it says peace or joy or something like that. But underneath that, it has like nativity imagery. And so what we do, like at the bottom, literally is hide that bottom part of it behind a big Santa Claus. It works.
His little head comes up to the exact right height to hide Jesus.
It's perfect. It's like it's made for that.
It was. So yes, that's the Christmas that we like. We like classic Christmas decor.
And we are both crazy enough that we seriously wanted and still want these giant life-size nutcrackers. There was a pair of them. There's 6-foot nutcrackers, and we want that in our dining room because we're crazy, and we want 2 of them, and unfortunately we cannot find them anymore. They were a 1-year thing. They were made by Sam's Club, and we haven't been able to find them since. So that is like, people ask about your Holy Grail dress. You don't have a Holy Grail dress anymore, but the Holy Grail for both of us is those 2 goddamn 6-foot nutcrackers.
We have Holy Grail nutcrackers.
Yeah.
And we want 2 of them. That's.
There's got to be 2 of them.
We are the 6-foot nutcracker people in the dining room. That's what we want, and we need 2 of them. 1 is not enough.
Imagine storing those fucking things. It's gonna be
worth it. It's worth it. I will point it at our bed and have them stare at you. What were we doing? Where do you store your petticoats and how? Well, we answered that.
Oh yeah, next question.
So thank you, the birds work for the bourgeoisie, and thank you for joining the Patreon. You were the reason that I can make so many fracking videos these days.
All over the fucking place with these videos.
Fuck them. Next one is from, it's Exo-Tio, so it could be Exotopill, another patron. This one is, I'm just gonna say Exotopill. I could be completely butchering your name, but that's what I'm going with. Exotopill says, what inspired your Lolita style? This is excluding Lolita fashion itself or other Lolitas, for example, tea parties, gardening, etc. So what I think they're trying to say is like, it's not like usual Lolita themes, like, oh, I just really like tea parties or gardening? I'm not exactly sure of the question, but I'm going to answer it as best I can. And I feel like I've said this before, but honestly, my Lolita style is highly inspired by Easter eggs. I really like super pastel, like bunches of colors all like nestled in together. Like that's why my closet is the way it is. I feel like we covered that in that last Frock Talk, but I like to have an Easter egg effect. And it used to be a lot more simple than it is now that I'm starting to stick more things on my head, but I'm still at the root. I just love cute baskets of pastel Easter eggs where all the colors are all like nestled into the little basket and there's cute little bunnies and stuff. Like that's like the root of my style inspiration. I just like pastel colors and pinks and blues and lavenders, and I just think it's really cozy and nice looking. And this dress is a little less pastel-y. I mean, it's got that pastel blue, but it's more like gingham, you know? It is pastel blue, but it's got like non-pastel things on it too. But I really like it. I think it's pretty. Forgot what we were doing. Sorry. The dress is pretty.
It is pretty.
But insofar as like other things that inspired me, like honestly, I came into Lolita at about 2010. So 2010 Sweet was, you know, happening around me. And at the time, I didn't really have the money to fully participate. Like I said, I only had about 5 dresses, and I think only one of them was printed, which is the Miracle Candy special set that I still have to this day. That was my first brand dress, and I still have it. My other ones were non-printed AP pieces and an Anna House dress and my Bodyline dress. I still have both of those to this day. I still have that Anna House dress too. But the other non-printed pieces, I think they're the only dresses I ever sold. I sold 2 non-printed pieces from, one was AP and it was like a candy shop JSK. It had these big puffy candies on the straps. It was super cute, and I have not seen it since. It was so adorable, and I wish I could find it again, but it's really rare. And the other one was a baby JSK, and I feel like they re-released the one that I had quite a bit, but I can't quite remember the name of it. Dresses that don't have prints are harder for me to remember the name of, because there's nothing like thematic to like jog your memory. It'll have some like Tea Rose Castle name or something like that, but there's no tea, roses, or castle. So it's harder for me to remember the name of dresses that don't have like triggers for the name on them, like Wizard of Oz, My Precious Things JSK. So yeah, 2010 Sweet and Easter eggs inspired my Lolita style. Thank you for your question, Exotopill. I hope I did not ruin your name. Let's go to the next one. Next one is from, I'm gonna butcher this, and I'm sorry in advance. I'll put your question on the screen so people of reasonable minds can read your name. Mart J. Lansdall. Mart J. Lansdall. We're gonna call you M. M says, I love the Full Metal Alchemist reference. We need more of those. As for Q&A question, if you ever get married, what kind of dress would you wear? A regular white wedding dress or an extremely extra OTT Lolita dress from BTSSB, for example? Cameraman and I have discussed this, actually, and I honestly, when we have a wedding, which COVID really threw out the window for us, we want it to be a Christmas themed wedding because we're crazy about that holiday. That is an event for us. Christmas starts in like October, okay? Fuck Halloween. We want it to be Christmas. We start decorating in October when we're we're those people. We are those people. But like honestly, I would wear classic fairy tales because it is my most Christmassy dress, and I think it would look fracking gorgeous at a Christmas wedding. If I couldn't get classic fairy tales, there are a number of really pretty like BTSSB ivory wedding type dresses that I really like. But honestly, if we're gonna do like a Christmas wedding, it'll surprise a lot of you to hear, dress isn't white. I like classic fairy tales. I think it would be really pretty.
No fucking clue what I would wear.
Yeah, please don't wear a green suit. You'd be looking like the jolly green giant over there. Yeah, I don't know. I can't see you.
Fucking Riddler or something.
Yeah, seriously. Leave it to you to wear purple and green. How did you not pick the purple blouse last time?
Oh,
How?
God. Fuck all of those people. I'm sorry. Fuck. Purple! Oh my god! Why did he pick the purple?
Because
I couldn't fuck.
color.
No, it's fucking not. Mint is the most obvious color.
Purple all over it.
There's pink all over it too. That's more obvious than purple.
It's obvious that you weren't paying attention.
Ugh.
Anyway. Yeah, classic fairy tales if he still decides to marry me after that.
Yeah, that one's on the fence.
He's
Let me get back to
thinking
you.
He's thinking about it. If I don't kill him before the wedding. Next is from Hermina? Would you say Hermina or Hermina?
If it's Hermina.
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess Hermina.
I'm gonna go with Hermina. This is from Hermina Depagan? Hermina Depagan. It's probably Depagan, but I like Depagan because Christmas is pagan. So, Hermina Depagan. Hermina Depagan. We're gonna call you H. Your name's now H. Says, question. Besides fishnets, what accessories do you see people wearing in the fashion that make your skin crawl? What trends are you glad died? And which would you like to revive? Ooh, that's a fun question. For the longest time, what bothered me was the fracking fawn makeup. That drove me up a fucking wall. It never looked good. It always looked like they dipped their nose in some fracking cookie batter and just left it on there. Like, they wouldn't last 2 weeks in hunting season, alright? That's what I'm saying. That fawn makeup had to go, alright? Otherwise, it was open season on their asses. So I'm glad that that's gone. I'm glad the fawn makeup died. The fishnets, I rag on them a lot because it's fun to rag on things. But the fishnets, they're not that bad. It depends on the use, what color they are, what outfit you're using them in. Like, they're a little easier to work in if they have those little, like, diamonds and stuff in them. There's layering you can do that can make them acceptable. But, like, I wouldn't tell that to a newbie. Because you know a newbie would wear some fracking black fishnets with a pink bodyline dress with no petticoat and some cat ears, alright? So I don't like to encourage our youngins out there to dress like a mess. What were we doing? What trends are you glad died? I believe I mentioned the fawn makeup. Fuck the fawn makeup. I'm glad Bambi's mom died. Next. And which would you like to revive? Which would I like to revive? Honestly, this is probably going to surprise a couple of people because it's kind of random. I honestly think the little mismatched shoes are cute. I think that's cute. And I like the split wigs. I think they're cute too when they're done right, alright? I don't want to see, like, burnt orange and navy out there. I think the little chocolate brown with pink on the side split wig thing is kind of cute if it's of good quality. I think it's kind of nice. It makes you look like, is it Neapolitan ice cream?
Neapolitan.
Neapolitan ice cream. Fancy word for vanilla strawberry chocolate, you know? All smushed together in an orgy of ice cream. But on your head. Cranial orgy. I thought it was cute, okay? And I know I'm probably thinking of, what is her name? Shelby Cloud. She used to do that with Happy Garden. She would mismatch her shoes. Like, she would put one blue shoe and one yellow shoe. And she was like the Lolita YouTuber when I first came up. She was the first Lolita I ever saw on YouTube. And I thought her looks were really cute and creative. And she would incorporate little facets of her normal life, like scarves and stuff that her mom had given her or something like that, into her outfits. And it was really like a lived-in, really cute feel. So yeah, I like the mismatched shoes. I would revive that. And deer makeup can crawl into a hole and die. Next up. The next one is from Catherine Figueroa, and she's a patron. Thank you for being a patron. And says, loosely based on something you mentioned, how important are comms in Lolita fashion? Can a comm make or break a person's love of Lolita? If no local comm is available or too unwelcoming, can specialized comms, i.e. plus size, trans, LGBT, etc., or online comms replace it? What do you do if your comm is unwelcoming and you don't have much options? Alright, so there's a lot of questions, so we're going to try and answer them in a kind of tree and quickly. How important are comms in Lolita fashion? That honestly depends on your level of socializing needs. If you're a super social person and you like to invest in different hobbies with other people who are just as passionate, then comms are going to be pretty important for you. If you're kind of a loner, then honestly you can probably like satiate your need to mix with other Lolitas by just joining an online comm and hanging out there and sharing like new release news and opinions and just hanging out. So comms are important, but it depends on the person. To answer, can a comm make or break a person's love of Lolita? Absolutely. Considering how many I'm telling Tylers I get of girls like having left their comms, at least temporarily, sometimes permanently, because they like were super awful and like ruined their love of the fashion. A bad social environment can absolutely break your attachment to the associated passion. Like, I've seen it happen. I get a lot of I'm telling Tylers about that. So yeah, it can be unwelcoming enough to like drive you out of a fashion, and that's why the online comms are so important. And that goes to your question about specialized comms, plus size, trans, LGBT, etc. I do believe comms like that are incredibly important so that Lolitas can find people that occupy their own experience, especially when that experience is underrepresented in the larger Lolita culture. I think it's really important to find your place in the comm with other people who are like you so you feel like you belong, because you do belong. No matter if you're fracking plus size, trans, LGBT, etc., to quote you specifically, you absolutely do belong in the Lolita community, and you deserve a space where you can see the truth in that with others who are like you, so that you don't feel alone, essentially. That's important. That's really important. And it allows you to represent who and what you are to the larger comm, so that it doesn't just fall through the cracks. So yes, specialized comms are incredibly important, and while they can't necessarily replace a physical comm for someone who is super outgoing, like, they are an important part of the Lolita experience. Like, I don't know if I would be where I am in my Lolita life if it weren't for the online comms. Like, the Lolita community has changed my life in a huge way. And I also, at the same time, I love my local comm and I miss them. Like, we had meetups like every single week, and I miss them, and I miss that. So comms, they are important, but you can definitely find community in the online spaces if you don't feel comfortable or there is not a local community near you. What do you do if your comm is unwelcoming and you don't have many options? I'll say it again, go into the online spaces. Go into the online communities and share in the passion that you have for Lolitas with other people like you, and it will enrich your life if you find the right space with the right people. So I wish you and anyone like you all the best in finding great comms, because the Lolita community as a whole is fucking fantastic. You will find your people. You will find them. They are out there and they're waiting for you to join, so don't give up. Let's go on to the next question from Nathalie. It's Nathalie.
It sounds like just Natalie.
Oh, maybe the H is silent.
That's my assumption.
Okay, so we'll say both. This question could be from a Nathalie or a Natalie. There's an H in there, and if the H is silent, then it's Natalie. So we're just gonna say Natalie for now. I'm sorry if your name is Nathalie and I ruined it. But this person says, and thank you for being a patron, why do you only wear print dresses? Are there any non-prints that you think would be worth your money? I wear print dresses because, honestly, I am one part Lolita, one part collector. And to me, each dress with a print on it is a wearable work of art. So, like, I am obsessed with the level of, like, detail and what's the word for it? Like, quality that AP and Baby and Meta, in some instances, since I own all three, in some instances, all right, the level of detail and quality that they put into their works is fracking amazing. Like, to this day with Frog Talk, I still find new things on prints that I didn't notice before. And that's part of what makes this fashion so magical, is because you're wearing artwork on your body. Like, that just blows my mind every time, to be able to wear something so detailed and gorgeous, and it's not just gonna hang on a wall and gather dust. Like, Lolita to me is art. It is art. It is wearable art, and it has so much value and, like, whimsy to it because of that. And insofar as, like, non-printed dresses, like, I do own a couple. Like, I own Jewelry Jabbit, and I own the dress he's about to go over to, which is...
It's a non-print dress right here.
Petite Patissier OP by AP. So yeah, that's a non-printed dress, and I bought it because it makes me think of like baking and like English boarding schools, like fantasy English boarding schools, not real ones.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The nice kind, not the kind where they lock you in the pokey.
Yeah, no rolled doll.
No rolled doll.
Like boarding schools.
But
or Pink Floyd.
Oh Jesus. Non-printed dresses, like they don't have bunnies on them, or kitties, or cakes, or candy, or magic stardust. Like, they're okay. I like them. There's some non-printed dresses that I think are okay, but for me, I'm in it for the artwork. I really am. Like, there are things that AP and Baby and Meta put on dresses, and these little cute details that they put into their works that they make me just drop kidney money on. Like, I'm about to like cut out a vital organ and hand it over to the black market so I can get the latest like bunny print. Like, that's how much it means to me. I'm one part Lolita, one part art collector. Like, I love them. I'm so passionate about it, and it makes me so happy to see the work and attention to detail that they put into their prints, especially from like the 2010 Sweet era, you know, that 2008 to 2012, 2013 era, those super dense prints. Like, they've released some prints since then that are really nice, but I don't know, there's just something about that era that just captured my imagination, and maybe that's because that's the era that I came up in, because I joined the fashion in 2010, but there's something magical about what these artists put on these dresses, and I feel really fortunate to have found this fashion and its community, because like, we are wearing art, and it's fun and whimsical. So that's why I only wear print dresses, because print dresses are what make my heart go fucking doki doki, okay? So let's move on. Oh, non-prints that would be worth my money. That baby dress, that Elizabeth baby dress that they recently released in a JSK cut. It's like velveteen or some shit. That's my jam. I like that dress. It makes me think of Jewelry Jabbit, but like fancier. I'll put a picture of it. Thank you, Natalie. We're going with Natalie. Never seen one with a silent H before. All right, last question. We're on the last one. Last question, also from a patron, is from Rotten Ralph. And Rotten Ralph says, I'm certain that you were done. I still want to know if you could have dinner and conversation, of course, with any person, living or dead. Who would you like to converse with? This is going to be left field for some of y'all, but honestly, if I could have a conversation with anyone living or dead, first person that comes to mind is David Letterman.
That was left field for me too. When you told me that, I'm like, really? He
and I, our content in some ways could not be more different, but there is an undercurrent of malevolence that we share. And I find that to be really interesting. And while I don't think he would be able to watch my show for more than 2 seconds without wanting to vomit, I think speaking with him about his career and his particular brand of making what, to an outside person looking in, what appears to be like a square, he looks to be very almost dowdy, very boring, but he twists it into something sinister. He uses essentially sheep's clothing to like shield the wolf underneath, and there's just a little bit of that fang peeking out whenever he smiles with that crooked fucking gap-toothed grin.
Apparently they don't like being called weasels.
I would like you to elaborate, because I'm sure you've seen the similarities between my content, my presentation, and his, because I look like a fucking wolf in sheep's clothing. Like,
yeah, well, that is a good. I think you hit the nail on the head, because the thing with Letterman and why he's kind of a mini obsession for me too, is that especially if you watch the old Letterman show from the 80s, because he was on for 30 years, but especially the late night show in the 80s, like, he's such a nerd. He's such a square. He's wearing like he's wearing like a suit with high tops. It's so square looking, and he's this like, he was a weatherman from Indiana. He was literally a fucking weatherman before he was in comedy. But there's something like he uses these old-timey words, but for somehow, and I'm never quite sure how he does it, when he uses these old-timey words, it's way more cutting than like curse words or calling someone like really mean names. Like the way he would call someone a weasel or the one of my favorite one ever is when he called Bill O'Reilly a goon to his face.
Yes.
Like who says goon? But the way he says goon is so cutting, and you could see Bill O'Reilly just shrink. Like, O'Reilly had nothing when Letterman said, "I think of you as a goon." And I'm trying to think of another example. There's goon, like the one both of our favorite is apparently they don't like being called weasels. I'm trying to think of another example.
With my theory as to why that's so effective, as far as insults go, it's kind of in the same vein as calling someone an amateur human being. The things
Thank Billy West for that one.
Yes, the things that truly cut deep, it's when you don't even need to use an expletive against them. When you use something so mundane, they're not even worth the effort of an expletive. They can't dismiss it as just coarse language. So they have to contend with it. So when you call someone a weasel or a goon, they can't dismiss you out of hand. They have to like contend with what you've just said to them. And in many ways, that's much more hurtful than just calling them a fuck nugget or something. Like, if
or like when he
called me a weasel, I would be way more offended.
Or when he called when GE bought NBC and he called them wimps. Like, who says wimps? But for some reason when he did, it was like really, really devastating.
There is something sinister about his use of like commonplace oldie terms. He uses like square terminology to cut people with. The way he operates is honestly impressive, and obviously we're not the only people who think that. It's David fucking Letterman.
Well, I think it's kind of been lost to the sands of time because he was a Gen X icon, and like so I've talked to my Gen X friends, and anyone who grew up in the 80s said like, and you know will say yeah, his show is amazing, and then you hear comedians from that generation all worship at the altar of David Letterman. You hear like Patton Oswalt and like Norm Macdonald. They will all just Norm Macdonald cried on the air when Letterman retired.
Norm fucking Macdonald.
But so yeah, so they all like so that's actually what got me into Letterman, was hearing all of these comedians just like shower praise on him. So I started watching, YouTubing his old stuff, and we would watch it together because we lived together. And then I got, you remember about 2 summers ago, it really became an obsession. That was like all I was watching was old Letterman.
You were just binging it.
Yeah, and so I actually read a biography by this guy named Jason Zinnemann is the author. The book is The Last Giant of Late Night. It's a really good book, and he kind of talked about, I heard him on a podcast. It was What the Fuck with Mark Maron, and he was talking about how it's kind of what we're talking about. Is like he grew up watching Letterman in the 80s, and he's like, here's this square, like almost Mr. Rogers type guy from Indiana, but he's like he said like he was, to him growing up, Letterman was the epitome of New York cool. Which seems so weird because he's a weatherman from Indiana, but it's like, but he said there was just something dangerous about him. Like he would just, and if you it's some of those old interviews are hard to watch. They're fucking uncomfortable. So like it's Conan O'Brien talked about it. He said, watching the old Letterman show, it's just like there's something wrong. It's like you're watching it and it's like, it's a talk show. It has the same format of a talk show, but everything is wrong. The set is weird. He's in like a nightclub, and then the host, and then this is why we keep using the word malevolent. We have to credit where it's due. Conan O'Brien was the one who came up with that. He said, I forget the exact quote he said, but I think it's something to the effect of, his smile was not ingratiating, but mischievous and ever so slightly malevolent. And there's one, and I hope you put up this one screenshot of the when he says,
fucking grin?
what was specific, yes, but specifically the bit that we both love, the Stevie Nicks bit about apparently they don't like being called weasels.
I could totally put that in.
And they say now that they didn't send us this telegram.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, they didn't send this telegram. And furthermore, they're talking to their attorneys, and they really didn't care to be called weasels.
Is like, we love everyone in show business, and then you just see that grin, and I'm like, oh my god, like you could see that on a fucking mugshot.
It makes my skin crawl, honestly. If he wasn't a night show host, he might be stabbing people in an alleyway.
No, it's a joke. We love everyone in show business.
No, there is something ever so slightly sinister about him, and it is an art. He made it into an art.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why if I could have a conversation with any person living or dead, my first at the top of my mind would be Letterman, and he's still alive. It's probably not going to happen, but he's still breathing. I'll give you second and third though, and they're tied, is George Carlin and John Oliver. John Oliver, for very obvious reasons, Last Week Tonight was obviously like a big inspiration for Last Week Lolita News, because we have the same very wordy format, because it's the style of comedy that I like. But George Carlin and Bill Maher are the bite.
I feel like your style is most like Bill Maher. Like
When he was good.
when he before he got old and started to suck. But I'm just I calls
doesn't
it
watch the show,
I calls him
fine.
like I calls him like I season
It's fine.
people.
He let Milo Yiannopoulos walk all over.
Yeah, thank
him.
God Larry Wilmore was in the room to tell Milo to go fuck himself.
Seriously.
But yeah, your format is John Oliver, but I feel like your style is more Bill Maher.
It's Maher and it's Carlin, because Carlin was my
True.
first comedy influence. He was my introduction to comedy that wasn't the redneck comedy tour.
You definitely get the wordiness from Carlin. I feel like
Carlin
that's
and John Oliver, but
Yeah.
very, very, like, I guess the word is loquacious.
Mm-hmm.
Could be wrong. It's been a while since I've had to pull a word out of my ass. But, like, that's essentially, like, the people that I would want to talk to. Top of the list would be David Letterman, and then tied would be John Oliver and George Carlin, and then Bill Maher would follow, just so I could give him a talking to about how all people need to do to get him to roll over so they can scratch his belly is to stroke his fucking anti-PC boner.
Yeah, complain about political correctness and he will agree
You have
to fucking
him.
anything.
You have him in your lap. Like, seriously.
He'll
like,
fucking be palling around with Steve Bannon if he just complains
Oh.
about political correctness.
And I get why. I know, like, he had to have that show Politically Incorrect, and he was constantly demonized and attacked from all sides, and he always gets it from the left. He always does. But, like,
That's no excuse. And
sometimes.
sometimes, well, A, sometimes he deserves it, and B, that's no excuse to roll over the way he does.
You need to do research on these guests before you let them walk all
Yeah,
over you.
that's
like, the shit with Milo Yiannopoulos made me nauseous.
Yeah, me
Don't.
too. No, we watched it together, and I was screaming at the screen, and thank God Larry Wilmore was there.
That is how fascism sneaks in. That is. It wears a happy smiley face, and I'm one of the reasonable people, and you don't like PC culture, so come with me. That is a fucking open door for those people, alright? Anyway,
We have been all over the fucking
we
place.
really have
Good
to
lord.
say, this is what quarantine has done to me,
Mhm.
okay? That was our last question, though. Thank you, Rotten Ralph, for that. And I guess we can wrap this. So, this has been Tyler. You've been watching Scarfing Scarves. I would like to thank my patrons for making all of this video content possible, because let me tell you, this would not be happening without you guys. I'd probably just be screaming in a chicken suit somewhere on somebody's roof, been hauled down by police. Otherwise. And if that didn't scare you off just now, if you would like to join their number, you can head over to patreon.com/lastweeklolitanews for more content that I don't recommend that you watch sober, or at all. I'm gonna go now.
Does that mean I can put this thing down?
Yeah, we're gonna go eat sushi.
Woohoo!